This is the Physics Hackwitch recording. I'm going to create a new app. And I'm going to go and rename it. So I'm going to right click, show in Finder. And I'm going to rename this to, whoops, where did it go? I'm going to do that one more time. Physics Hackwitch, and I'm going to put an R to remind myself that this is the recording. All right, so I'm going to make this full screen by double clicking up here. For right now, I am going to get some navigation files, but not at the moment. And the first thing that I am going to do is I'm going to set up my content view. My app over here, I'm not going to touch. So my app I'm not going to touch, but I am going to add a new content view in a second. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to import, and this should auto-populate for me, but a sprite kit view. So this is telling the computer, hey, know how to do extra things, know how to do characters, sprites, nodes, know how to do some gravity when I tell you to. It does not import normally with the Swift UI because this is the most common stuff used. Sprites in games are not very common or not as common, so I don't want to, so Apple does not give that to us automatically because then the memory would be too big. I'm going to take out my VStack, and I should possibly get 2 warnings. Those warnings mean, why did you have me create an app? Why did you have me create a window, a content view of information, but you haven't had me do anything in it first? The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put what's called a geometry reader and then the content right here. I'm going to put that geometry reader, and look how much code I already get. In this text, I'm going to do a sprite view, and I'm going to do a scene over here on that caret, and I just want to put in that scene, so the very first one. The scene is going to be a game scene. It is not going to auto-populate because that scene right here is I'm going to create in a second. I do want to create the size though. I'm going to say size colon geometry dot size. So what I'm basically just saying, I'm going to zoom out 1 second so that you can see that this is all one line of code. The warning says that I cannot find game scene because it's looking for a page or a file that doesn't exist yet. I'm about to fix that. This geometry reader basically says know the file size right here, the geometry size of the frame that you open. So it's going to be different for an iPad, an iPhone, a computer. So I'm going to fix that error right now, and I'm going to go over here, right click to a new source file, or I can also, this says Swift Playground up here, I can go to file, new source file up here. That's perfectly fine. I'm going to rename it, and I'm going to rename it Game Scene. The first thing that I'm going to do on my Game Scene file is I'm going to import my sprite kit again. So again, on each page that I use, I have to remind the computer, hey, know how to do gravity, know how to manipulate a character or a node on the screen. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a class, and a class is basically a world where the everything's going to live. So I'm going to do an SK scene. Look how much this auto-populates, comma, SK physics. I want it to know some physics on here. SK physics contacts. I actually want contact delegate, which is right here down at the very bottom. All right. So I'm going to, again, show you the, oh, I don't need this, so I'm going to give myself some more real estate to type. Again, expected member block in class is actually saying, I don't know where to start and end. So we're going to put that in. What I'm going to do now, so right now it's happy, I don't have an error, and I have a black screen. So the black is actually the default. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to insert into my assets 2 images of balls, so that, because I'm going to have the balls bouncing around. So I'm going to go to my, nope, I don't know why I just opened maps. I'm going to go to my photos and insert, where did I put those? They actually might be recently. Nope. Library. Maybe it was just there. It might be on my desktop, actually. Collections, no, that's my dad. Recently saved? No, these are not recent. I just keep going back to the same thing. You know what? Oop, oh, gosh darn it. Let's see if, oh, you know what? Instead of photos, they're over here. Huh. Pictures. Yeah, they're there. If they are PNGs, then they will be a transparent background. So I'm going to grab that one, not the PNG, not the JPEG. And I'm going to grab this one. And I'm going to go ahead and put in a third one, 2. So I have ball, ball 2, ball 3. I'm going to rename this to be, I'm actually going to keep it, it's fine. So I have all 3 of my images and they're all PNGs. All right, so back to my content view. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to, now I don't want content view, I want my game source view. My game scene, this stopped, this changes the name. It's a glitch, I'm not quite sure how to stop it. I'm going to create 2 variables, one to hold my ball 1, and I'm going to make that be a sprite node, SK sprite node, with the parentheses after, and I'm going to create a second variable. So this is just memory space to store the characters, and you have to actually create that first before you have to create the storage space in order to put the characters in. All right, that's going to go away in a second. Then I'm going to do some functions inside my class. So my class right now ends on line 8. I'm going to bring that down so I've got some room to work. And underneath my variables, I'm going to do what's called an override function. Override function just means if another function is happening and this one triggers, that this one becomes the dominant one. So the override function is basically like the primary or the more active one. Do that one if another one is loading. So I want scene did load because I do want to create a world. I need to continue to create a world to live in, and I need to set some information about it. So I'm going to say, hey, know this about yourself, but we're going to put some physics body in it, and we're going to set that space equals space a physics body edge loop. So I've got edge chain. That's not what I want. I want an edge. This is from. I want an edge loop. Oh, edge loop from. There we go. That's actually what I want right here. I don't know why I didn't see it before. And I want it from the frame. So I'm saying, hey, take this whole frame and just know that this is the physics. I want all of the physics to apply up to the frame. I'm going to get rid of that because I don't need it. And I'm going to give myself some more real estate to work. So that's the first thing that I'm going to do to kind of apply some physics to this world. The second thing is I'm going to create the balls in order to live in this world. So I'm going to go underneath my function. My function ends here at line 11. I'm going to do another function. It's not going to be an override because I only want it to happen when it gets called. And I'm going to do create ball. Now this doesn't auto-populate because I am naming it. It's just like naming a variable. Those don't auto-create. But when I want to call this function, it's going to be create ball. And I'm actually going to create that uppercase. I'm going to do an image named and image name. I am going to give it a minute to see if it's going to auto-populate for me, and it's not. So in a second, I might actually close and start it again. Create a string. That did auto-populate. Position. These are the parameters. So I'm going to explain that 1 second. Let me finish typing. CG position, CG position, CG point. There we go. So what I'm doing is I'm saying, hey, create a ball, and these are the parameters. So I want to say put the ball with a specific name. Ooh, that would have been an error. That would have been an error that was going to take me forever to find. That's probably why I didn't autocorrect, or I didn't autofill. Named the string that I'm about to call it. In this case, it's going to be the ball 1 and the ball 2. At the position, the CG point, that I tell you to. So I'm not finished yet because I'm going to create what's an arrow right here, and this is going to be a return. And I think now the arrow says expected return type and function. This is saying like, hey, give me some information and return it back to me. So I'm going to return the SK sprite node. That's a shape node, sprite node. Return the sprite node. So hey, create a sprite with the string name and at the point, and then give it back to me. So like, tell me where it is. And now I'm going to actually start my code. This error is not going to go away for quite a while, which is that return sprite. So first I'm going to create the sprite right away. Return sprite, let sprite be set to, which is space equals space, sk sprite node image named right here. And I want it to be image named the image because I don't want to name it ball, because I'm actually saying, hey, grab the image parameter and grab that word ball 1, ball 2, so that it grabs different images, not the same one. If I hard code this with the word ball 1, then I won't get to get those other images in there. All right, I'm going to get a lot of warnings and a lot of errors, and that is okay. Sprite size. This is just in case the image that you happen to grab is really small or really big, so this might need to be adjusted a little bit, but we're going to do an SK size width and height. And I'm going to put an 80 and 80 in here. You might have to make it bigger, you might have to make it smaller, and this is going to be like one of those things that you adjust later. Sprite dot position, and we're going to set that to the position that it's in. We are going to grab, after the position, we're going to do a physics body, so sprite dot physics body, and we're going to set that to the SK physics. And so now we're telling where to put it. That should be an equal sign, equals SK physics body. There we go. And we want to do a circle radius of the sprite size. And we're just going to give it some information about itself. The size dot width divided by 2. Couple more here. After the physics body, we're going to do some restitution. And restitution basically means bounciness. So we're going to do sprite.restitution. Oh, physics body, forgot that one. Physics body. The question mark means that it is optional. If I don't have a ball, then I don't want that physics body to actually be running. So in this case, I actually want them to be optional. Or if the ball is not moving, I don't want it to have restitution. We're going to do what's called friction. And the friction is with the, again, physics body, question mark dot friction. And we're going to set that friction, we're going to set it to 0 because I actually don't want any friction. I don't want things when they slide against each other, slide against the background over here. I don't want the friction to have any impact. I am getting those warnings, and that is okay. It's because I'm missing the return. This is not going to be happy until I fulfilled that arrow requirements, and that's at the very end. I'm going to add what's called linear damping. So here's the thing about these physics body. Here's the thing about these is that a lot of times you're going to kind of manipulate these numbers, and you're not always going to see a big difference, and that's because it tries to be as applicable to physics as it can, and it doesn't always do that. So here's physics body. And there we go, question mark again. After the linear damper, we're going to do angular damping, which basically just means that like the image could be rotating, and we're going to set that to 0 because it's a circle. We don't actually need it to, but if you have a different shape and you kind of want it to spin a little bit, that might be where you put it in. We've got a sprite for physics body, and we're going to do our category bit mark. Oh, actually, we're going to do this one in a second. No, we're going to go ahead and do this now. Category bit mask. This is used for collision. So we haven't put anything in collision yet. So I'm going to put that in when we do collision. All right, the very last thing that I'm going to do over here is I'm going to return, make sure that I'm still in my function, and I'm going to return the sprites. So after you create the sprites, make it be the image, and then have it know the position, know what friction it wants to use, linear damping, spinning rotation, and I shouldn't have any errors over here. Okay, So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put in the did move. So does the ball actually move or not? I'm going to put the did move between the scene did load and the ball itself, because I actually want it to know if it's moving before creating the ball. I could do it afterwards, but I just like this order. So I'm going to do an override function again. Whoops. Because my override functions just kind of make sense to do them in groups. Override function did move, and it is going to auto populate did move to skview. All right, I didn't type that in. If at this point if it's not typing in for you, then you have probably an error. I have an error right now, and that's because I don't have code. But I'm going to fix that in 1 second. All right, the first thing that I want is I want some physics world, and I want some gravity with that. So look how little I'm typing. Everything is auto-populating for me. First, I'm going to do a vector, and the dy dx one right here is actually the pulls from the left and the right. I want to pull, and then I want to do negative 9.8. Why negative? And that's because negative means down, and so it's going to pull it down toward like what actually gravity does. All right, I'm going to put in my ball 1, and I'm going to create it. So create ball image name. And so notice it puts these two, and that's because I'm calling this, so I'm calling this function to create the ball. These are the parameters, so these are the things that I get to choose. And the first one I'm going to do is change it to ball 1, image named ball 1. And, oh, nope. That's calling the variable. I actually want the name over here. So I actually just want the word ball. Whatever you named it, this is where you have to make sure that you match it exactly. And I want the position to be the size dot width times, which is the shift 8, 0.25. If you just put 25, you're going to get an error. And then the y, nope, I messed it up. Hang on, let me fix this. I should be letting this position, there we go. The position should be the CG point. I already forgot that. I was like, this should have auto-populated for me. I'm going to do that one. The y position should be the size dot width times 0.25 times 0.25. And the y should be the size dot height divided by 2. All right, and then I'm going to, so I have this ball I'm creating. After this ball, inside still the function, I'm going to add childs, because this will add, there we go, and this adds the ball bouncing. All right, I'm going to add my second ball right here, which is my ball 2. Notice I've made them up here, and I'm now going to put the information in it. I'm going to create the ball that's grabbing this variable or this function down here. I'm going to say it's called ball 2. The position, again, is going to be that CG point from the X and Y. The X and Y, I don't want it to be the exact same, so don't copy and paste, or if you do, make sure that you change it. But this is going to be the size dot width. Oh, don't know what I just did. Size width times 0.75. If I do the exact same 25, then I actually am going to put the two over on top of each other, and you're actually not going to see it. And then the y is going to be the size dot height. Size dot height divided by 2. So I'm saying, hey, put it in the middle. Oh, and then add the child. Add child ball 2. So put it in the middle. In this case, put it in the middle at the 0.75. This is put it in the middle at 0.25. And notice that they're bouncing because they're negatively pulling down. If I got rid of this, then they would actually start to bounce up. Let's refresh so that you can see that. So they would start to bounce up from the ceiling. That's why we put a negative right there. All right, at this point in time, I shouldn't have any errors. And I have my 2 balls bouncing right here. what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some collision ability to it. All right, so I'm going to go over here, which is back into my create ball, and I want the two to be able to collide together. So between my last physics body and my return sprite, I'm going to grab my sprite, and this is going to be applied to both of them at the same time. That's the benefit of using a function. Physics body question mark, and I'm going to say category bit mask equals 1. And this essentially is what objects it's allowed to collide with. And it's basically, since we're creating both of these balls using the same function, these are going to be the same character, the same type of object. This is helpful or useful if you are, like if you have like a Flappy Birds and you want the character to collide differently with a pipe versus a wall versus another bird. Like the physics is going to be a little different. In this case, the balls are the exact same, so we want them to collide the same way. We're going to do a sprite. That physics body question mark because it's optional. We're going to do a collision Bismack. So we did the category. Sorry. The category was what it can collide with. And then the collision is what collision should trigger other events. And we're going to set that to 1. And then the last one that we're going to do is we're going to do a contact test. So sprite, physics body, question mark, and contact with set at 1. All right, nothing should change over here because we're actually not calling those exactly yet. I'm going to go back to the beginning of my code, and I'm going to go to my override function scene did load. So again, this override function says when you load, I want you to do these certain things. The first thing that I want you to do is I want you to do a, we need to add, we have that physics world, we need to give it some information about itself, so we're going to do self, and it auto-populated. And we're going to do physics body is set to nope, hang on, I'm wrong. Give me 1 second. Oh, yep. I just got confused as to where we were. I thought that this didn't exist. And I just got confused as to what override function we were in. I want to be in the scene did load. I want to, like I said, I thought that we didn't have this, but we do, and we're good. We're good with that. What I want to do is I want to be in the scene did load. All right. I want to, in the scene did load, I want to give it a contact so that they can contact and detect collisions. So I'm going to do a physics world, and I'm going to say contact delegate and say like, okay, so know if you run into something else. That's what that's going to do. Doesn't change the bouncing effect right now because they're not colliding with each other. Right now they're just bouncing, having physics to know to bounce back up. All right. So I'm not almost done, but that's a big chunk of it. What I want to do is I'm going to add some more functions that aren't going to visually affect a whole lot of the code, but it helps prevent the code from crashing. So at the bottom of my function, my last function, but before my class ends, I'm going to do a function for a did begin. And I'm going to say that's all auto-corrected, and I'm just going to say print contact begin. This is going to let me know if the two images are detecting if they crash into each other. And I don't want that to be, oh, there we go, contact began, because they're recognizing that they're contacting, they're hitting that bottom frame. I also am going to do a function did ends. So function, did ends, and again, I'm going to say print contact ended. Contact ended. All right, so this just lets me say like, okay, look, so the contact began and then ended as they're going up and down. All right, so let's get some more interesting things going on in here. So at this point, I can very quickly add a third ball. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go up here. Now that I have everything set up, I can quickly add a third ball, and then I'm going to start having them do some random movements. So here, I'm going to do a variable, ball 3. I'm going to do the SK sprite node. Here we go. So I put in an image for a third ball. At this point, you can just use one of your existing ones, and just know that you can just change the image later. I'm going to go into my did move. I'm going to add my third ball. So I'm going to add ball number 3. Create ball. Image, name, and positions, because I'm grabbing that variable down here. This one, I'm going to grab ball 3. And the position that I'm going to set is the CG point at X and Y. This one is going to be size dot width. And we'll put it in the middle. And then the Y is going to be in the middle again, size dot height divided by 2. And lastly, it's not going to show up until we add the child. All right, so now I have 3. Why this one looks a little squished, I think it's just my image. So now easily, very quickly, I was able to use the same gravity, use the same functions to very quickly add that other ball. So this is great, and it'll sit there bouncing for a long time, but it's not that interesting. It doesn't do a whole lot. So what I'm going to do, apply physics, there we go. I also need to put in, this video is getting really long, so I'm going to stop this, and I'm going to, I'm going to stop this, and I'm going to make the balls do some movement around.